Consider the worst evils and greatest goods done in human history. Can either be adequately explained in a completely natural way. Now, this is an argument you can use with unbelievers and believers, and I have. Or do some of these seem to have a supernatural dimension? Now, and that's really, this point is, I really should have had those slides were reversed order there. The extent of both human good and evil cannot be adequately explained in a purely natural way. They have a supernatural dimension. Okay, now, follow my logic. The survival of the fittest could explain human beings eliminating each other for their own survival. No problem. So that worldview could be accurate. But could it explain excessive cruelty and torture? Could it explain people taking delight in inflicting pain and misery on the innocent? Now think about that. When I was in Cambodia, I'm not even going to repeat the stories that were told me that just make you weep. The murders, torturous murders of children and horrific things that were done. But what struck me was many of these things actually required a great deal of effort, real actual work on the part of human beings, the expending of their energy and use of resources that they could have used selfishly in other ways that are actually used to torture and inflict, to do this evil thing. Now, can that be explained by the survival of the fittest, natural selection, the superior will? I mean, the lion will devour the weaker, the hyenas will, but will they torture? Will they go out of their way to expend more energy to make it more miserable on their prey? That seems to be unique to human beings. It doesn't make sense. Now, you could say, well, of course it doesn't make sense. It's horrible. It's crazy. But it kind of raises the question, is there something more here? Could it explain natural selection, if you have an evolutionary worldview, survival of the fittest? Could it explain the strong, loving sacrifice, or the strong lovingly sacrificing their very lives on behalf of the weak? Could it explain, man and woman, both physicians, they pull up stakes after all their medical training, and they go and they live with untouchables in India and devote the rest of their lives giving medical care to people who will never be able to. They could make more money in 1 month in America than they will ever make the rest of their lives, arguably, in India. And that is the good that they are doing really humanly explainable. That's the opposite of the evil. Supernatural evil. See you see where I'm going with this. If the evil isn't natural that I was describing, well, what's left? Well, supernatural. If the good that these people are doing, the doctor and his wife, could not be explained by any natural way, again, in your worldview, let them die. Let these sick people die. Let people with leprosy die. Survival of the fittest. It's the natural way of things. We're actually better. The world is better because the fit survive. And genetically superior, the genes are going to be passed on. Doesn't that all, from a humanistic worldview, make sense? Those people are violating. They may be atheists. I'm not saying these are Christians that are doing it. Now, in many cases, people doing these things are Christians, and they are doing it for a supernaturally empowered reason, but somebody else may be doing it because they're made in the image of God and there's enough common grace in the world that their hearts are moved with love And so God gets, in my mind, God doesn't just get credit for the work he does in believers. He gets credit for his common grace in unbelievers that moves them to do good things. So where we're headed here is there a different supernatural explanation for extreme evil and extreme good? I think there is. Ephesians 6:12, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places.